Good morning. Hey, this is Cody with Secure Agent Mentor, and you know what? SecureAgentMentor.com. We have a web design firm that is building a brand new training website. I got to see a little bit of some sneak peeks last night, and I'm having another meeting to go over it today. I'm telling you, this is going to revolutionize the insurance industry. It is going to be super sick. So I'm excited about that. Super excited about that. Today's topic for our six-figure focus podcast episode, I think this is like 16 business days in a row of bringing you my thoughts, my knowledge, my tidbits, my advice on how to make six figures, and different tidbits or different ideas or different topics that can help you excel in the topics that you're already in. The prospecting avenues that you're already in, the ways that you're selling, what you're doing. Our whole focus is to just simply improve what you're doing or give you the knowledge to do better, to be better, or to totally revamp what you're doing so that you can focus on making six figures. Again, this is Cody with Secure Agent Mentor. This is Six Figure Focus. Today's podcast audio episode is called Running a Telesales Call Center. And one thing I won't get into today as much is kind of whether it's kind of where your call center is, or whether you're using someone else's call center, or whether you're outsourcing your call center, or whether you've got your own in-house call center. I'll discuss that very little, but the topics I want to talk about today is finding a product niche that you can consistently sell over the phone, getting a consistent lead flow to fill your pipeline, and then how the three ways to sell and to make more sales over the phone, which in turn is called telesales. And that's kind of the way the insurance business is going. You'll have a lot of I run into agents all the time, and most of them are either selling over the phone, or B, they have a mix. Generally, it's not just in person. Generally, there's kind of a mix there. So, I mean, a lot of people are used to getting information over the phone. They're used to getting information on the fly very quickly, what they want, when they want, how they want. And so if they want it, I'm not going to deprive them of the information that they seek. So the first little topic inside of this, running a telesales call center, and just a quick background. I've been around this business my entire life, but I've been started as an intern about 9 to 10 years ago. So I've been around this business for a while. I love this business. I have a passion for it. And I actually ran and still operate. But I'll just tell you this. I started a call center, it's almost been a couple years ago now. And that's when I first started diving into the telesales and the call center ring. And our first 6 months, we wrote about 300 applications. We focused on MedSup, final expense, and cancer insurance. And we were averaging about 50 apps per month. So that, just to summarize, and that should kind of let you know that when it comes to telesales, I know what I'm talking about. I've been doing it for a while, and I've done it very successfully. And these are the reasons why I've done it successfully. I've had a niche. Even when we were focusing on, even when we were selling MedSup and final expense, we were calling people that were the ages for Medicare, and they were our first question, our first focus. We were focused on Medicare with a secondary focus on final expense and a tri-terry or third focus on cancer, heart attack, stroke. So you got to have a niche. You got to have that niche of what age you want, where they are, what type of product they need, and kind of what you're going to sell them. because there's got to be a need there, and you've got to know what your key focus is or your key niche is. Because if you just pick up the phone and start calling and just start talking to people about whatever and hoping to sell anything that they will buy from you, I'll tell you, it doesn't work as well as you think. I used to do that. It's been a long time ago, but I've learned that you've got to have some type of niche, some type of focus, kind of like this podcast, 6-Figure Focus. You've got a niche. You've got a focus. You've got a laser focus. You've got your sights set on something, and you're not going to let anything come in your way. So you got to have some type of product niche. You've got to have, the second thing, you got to have a consistent lead flow. Whether you outsource to another call center, whether you have an in-house call center, which I've had, whether you outsource, whether you have your own call center but it's outsourced, so it's not anybody else's call center, it's yours but it's outsourced, or maybe you have a lead vendor that's going to feed you a consistent lead flow. I mean, there's different ways, and I've done them all. There's ways that work better than others. If you want to pick my brain, you can always email me, cody.askins@secureig.com. Or you can get consistent lead flows from, really there's a multitude of different ways. The key is you have to have a consistent lead flow. What I learned about my first 2 to 3 months running a telesales call center is that I didn't have enough lead volume, or I wasn't calling enough states, or I didn't have enough people. I learned that number one, I didn't have enough telemarketers when I was running the telesales call center, but I also learned that about 2 months in, we were starting to call through these people 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 10 times. Well, the lead flow becomes less consistent the more times you call through a list. Yeah, you want to call a list through a few times, but the more you call it, and I'm talking about, we had dialed some numbers like 30 times. Well, yeah, that's silly. That's ridiculous. But hey, I didn't know what I was doing. It's been several years ago. But I learned that the more I call through a list, the less consistent my lead flow gets. And to run a successful telesales operation, you have to have a consistent lead flow where you're not paying $10, $20, $30, $40 a pop. You can get this done and operational for much less than that. So you can have a consistent lead flow. The next thing and the last thing is you need to know how to telesell. And to telesell, you have to do 3 things. To close business and to telesell and to make money, you got to do 3 things. The first thing is you got to get straight to the point. When you're on the phone, I used to think when I first started, hey, I need to warm people up. I need to dive in and get to know them and ask them about I even had this whole, hey, I'll ask them about work. I'll ask them about their hobbies. I'll ask them about their their occupation. I'll ask them about their family, their friends, the weather, where they live, all these things, where they were from. Well, I learned that it came across less genuine and fake if you try to force a warm-up when you're not even in front of them. So, and people nowadays, they don't really care to just sit there and talk and get to know you. That's not important to them. So number one, you need to get straight to the point. You need to dive in. Number 2, you need to assume every step of the way. Assume they're going to answer the phone. Assume they want to talk to you. Assume they're going to give you the time you need. Assume that when you propose them that they are going to buy. After they buy, assume that they are going to give you all of their information. You need to assume every single step of the way, which will help you. Because one thing, if you think through the psychology of this, and if you think through what the client or the prospect on the other end of the phone is thinking about, My thought is, when someone calls me, if they assume that I'm going to do something, and I know you're the same way, it makes you think, okay, I must have, I guess I'm supposed to do this, I mean, apparently other people are doing this, it's kind of like that, well, everyone else is doing it, why am I not doing it kind of thing. If you assume, it makes them feel like, hey, other people are talking to this guy. He's confident. He's assuming I'm going to talk to him. So, hey, it must be something that he's good. It works, or, what, he's the dude in this space, so to speak. If I'm assuming and I'm confident, then, it'll show, and people they'll get it. They'll understand it, So you got to assume every step of the way. Even when it comes down to closing, you got to assume that they are going to buy. This is what I as a professional, this is what I professionally recommend. Let's just see if we can, let's go ahead and take down a little bit of your information and see if we can get you approved. So what's your full legal name, Miss Betty? Bam. That's how you assume. That's how you take control. You're confident and you assume that they are going to do what you want them to do. And then the last piece of knowing how to telesell, or the three little minor points of telesales best practice, I guess you could call it, is you've got to be closing, or you got to learn to close on the very first call. You have to close on the very first call. Now, why do I say that? Well, number one, you're not in front of them. And number two, we know how hard it is to get back in front of someone, especially if we have to get them to answer the phone again. If we want to get them to answer the phone again, or actually get back in front of them or talk to them again, that can be very difficult. Not that it's not possible, but we can talk to them the first time, and then it could take 12 calls to get back in front of them. So you're making yourself work so much harder. I know agents that follow up with people for a year. I'm closing them right then and there. If I'm not closing them then and there, I'll give them a little time. I'll stay aggressive. I'll follow up. And then I'm moving on. I'm not going to follow up with somebody for an entire stinking year because I can close business on the first chance, the first opportunity. You've got to learn how to close on the very first call. And by getting straight to the point and assuming and being confident, it'll help you have a better chance of closing, but you have to learn to close on the very first call. It is so uber important. If you don't know how to close, I've got agents right now that try to sell over the phone, and they say, well, let me get some of your information just so I can get a good quote, and then we'll call you back with that quote. You have them on the line. They are ready to talk to you right then. That's just so ridiculous to me. You are losing sales by doing those things. Learn to close on the very first call, and you will have a successful telesales operation. Again, this is Cody with Secure Agent Mentor and SecureAgentMentor.com, the new training website being built as we speak. Again, what is this called? Yell it out with me, Six Figure Focus. This is another podcast episode of Six Figure Focused, where this topic today we talked about running a telesales call center. Again, I'm your host, Cody. Feel free to reach out if you have questions. If you want some coaching sessions, if you want to start and build your own telesales operation, trust me, I'm the man for the job. Feel free to email me, cody.askins@secureig.com. Hope you have a extremely great and successful Thirsty Thursday. We will talk to you tomorrow.